So Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell, and the Minnesota Vikings came away with another pretty easy win, in my opinion, against the Green Bay Packers. Kind of a similar game to how they played earlier in the year, where the Vikings went up a lot, and then the last quarter, the Packers kind of got some garbage time points. In the end, the Vikings only won by 2 points, but really, it wasn't a 2 point game. The Vikings pretty much handled the Packers all game long. And after the game, there was a viral clip of Sam Darnold coming back to the Vikings locker room and Kevin O'Connell really soaking it all in, just looking like a proud dad, to be honest. And he should, he took a guy that had a pretty rocky career up until this point, and he basically turned him into not necessarily an MVP caliber quarterback, but just an impressive franchise pillar stone quarterback, in my opinion. And he should be feeling like a proud dad because he turned dirt into gold. And if you really think about it, he was on the Jets, and that didn't turn out well. He was even on the Panthers. That didn't turn out well. And really, a lot of people thought his career was over, essentially. And of course, he was a backup on the Niners, and working with Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy. Sam talked about this a lot, how he learned a lot from those two. And to come here, just really turn things around, a complete 720, and guy's a legit quarterback going forward. And I just don't know how you don't pay him now going into the offseason if you're the Vikings. I just feel like you have to pay this guy. Even if they're a one-and-done team in the playoff, I still feel like you have to pay them because they have the potential to get the first seed in the NFC, and that is just a crazy feat. Like, if they do that, I would just hand him the contract on Monday. If they beat the Lions on Sunday Night Football in Detroit, if I'm the GM of the Vikings, I hand his agent that contract Monday morning after the game in the locker room. I don't care. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. And going forward, man, honestly, throughout this season, I was a bit hesitant on the Vikings. I knew they were a playoff caliber team, but we've seen the Vikings kind of be in these one-score sort of games before with Kirk Cousins when they're on the good end of it. I feel like most Vikings fans remember a couple years ago when they lost to the Giants in round one at home. It was a similar season where they looked good, they were a playoff team, but every game was pretty close. Really, in my opinion, for me, the past 3-4 weeks, it's been pretty impressive. I feel like Sam Darnold has really turned it up a notch, and this dude is just slinging darts, just accurate, on point, and he's just clutch. He's clutch. There's so many drives this past year where it's win or go home, and he's come through every single time. So getting into the playoffs, I definitely think this is a Super Bowl contender, and I didn't think they were one earlier this year. That defense with Brian Flores obviously stood out the first part of the year. Then they kind of slowed down a little bit, but they've definitely been turning up the past 2-3 weeks. So really excited to see what this team does in the playoffs. And the Vikings are like the Lions. They've never won a Super Bowl before either, so it's a feel-good story for sure. And I'm filming this Monday night. I definitely have the Vikings favored against the Lions in Sunday Night Football, just because the Lions defense is extremely banged up and the Vikings have just looked elite offensively. I know it's a road game. I know that environment is going to be really crazy. Sunday Night Football, of course, but it's essentially a playoff game. Like, that's what it is. So I'm really excited to see it. If you're listening to this right now, I'm sure you're really hyped for it as well. And let me know who you think is going to win that game. It's definitely it's definitely a toss-up. The Lions beat them earlier this year, but I feel like Sam Darnold is just playing at a different level right now. I just feel like, as a whole, the Vikings' confidence, their mojo is just at a different level right now. Plus, with all the Lions' injuries right now, defensively, I have them edging them out just slightly. And speaking of the Lions, that's another reason why I think this team could be a legitimate Super Bowl contender and why this team might make it to the Super Bowl, because of the Lions and because of that defense and because of all those injuries. I feel like after the past 2-3 weeks with, you know, all the Lions players going down, the NFC definitely opened up a little bit for teams like the Vikings, teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. I still believe in the Green Bay Packers, even though they've looked not great a day ago. I still believe in them. But you let me know if you think the Vikings can actually make it to the Super Bowl. I'm definitely a believer right now. You tell me if you feel the same way. Now back to Sam Darnold. I'd pay him whatever he wants. I would give him a rich contract. Listen, I know it's only 1 year, and I know he's only had one elite year this year, but still, I've seen enough. I trust Kevin O'Connell. I trust Sam Darnold. I just trust that he's not going to fall off a cliff a year from now. He's been in the league for a while. He's an experienced guy. He seems like a pretty smart QB as well. I know, kind of prisoner of the moment sort of thing, but I just don't know how you don't give the keys to this guy going forward. You kind of have to pay him, but that's just my opinion. Now, if they do pay him, the question then goes to JJ McCarthy. What do they do to JJ going forward? Now, in my opinion, I would keep him for one more year just for insurance purposes. You never know how next year is going to turn out. After Sam gets that big contract, sometimes their play goes down. I don't think that's going to happen to Sam, but you just never know. Also, of course, from an injury perspective as well, but I totally expect a lot of teams to hit up the Vikings for this upcoming offseason in regards to the availability of JJ McCarthy, mainly due to the fact that it's not a strong quarterback class. Really, you have Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward being first-round picks. I don't even know if Shedeur really should be a top 10 QB, but he probably will be just because there's not a lot this year. So if you're a Vikings fan, definitely expect some teams to inquire about JJ McCarthy. And you know what, man? If it's a good draft pick that they're offering, I'd say anything in the first round, I would definitely accept it and just part ways with JJ McCarthy. But if it's something cheap, like a third or a fourth, or, you know, a 3 and a 5 or something like that, I definitely would keep him for another year just in case. But you never know, you know, maybe the Raiders will hit him up. Maybe the Giants will check in on JJ, especially with them winning a day ago and they no longer hold the first overall draft pick. So Shedeur Sanders is probably not going to be a Giant after all, which is hilarious considering the fact that during his last game he wore New York Giants cleats. So I don't know, man. But going forward, happy times for Vikings fans. I really want to see a good playoff run from the Vikings. It'd be cool if they made the Super Bowl, man. You know, be a really, really cool feat. History in the making as well. And JJ McCarthy for the 2025 offseason will definitely be a captivating storyline to pay attention to. So let me know what you think about them and everything else in between. If you made this far, please subscribe and like the vid. It'd help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.
It's second down now, right around 3 minutes remaining in the third. They'll go shotgun here. He had no time to get set.
Sometimes on third and long from the defensive side, I like the fact that you can blitz. Send more guys than they can block. Make the quarterback throw the football quickly and short. Then it's all up to coming up and making the tackle.
Jason Morrow makes the catch.
Holding. Defense.
The penalty is declined. That last play will hold up.
The defense has got to be a little aggressive here. Your team is down. You've got to attack this offense. You don't want them to get in there and get another score.
Force it across for the touchdown. At toughest point in the game midway through the third. That touchdown has them on the brink of putting this game away.
Man, they're starting to put their mark on this game, Jim, and you just got to be careful. Don't let it get away from you right here.
The Jets offense taking the field again. They got everything they could out of that last possession, Phil. That was a solid touchdown drive.
Yeah, just look at them, Jim. The way they run onto the field, you can see they're exuding